VCT Champions 2024 has been crazy so far. Taking place in Seoul, the last VCT tournament of the year has delivered some very solid matches so far. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we are talking about the first 8 matches of the VCT Champions 2024 tournament. I am not at my usual setup. I am currently on vacation, so I've been trying to watch as many matches as I can and keep up so that I can keep you guys informed. So you may be able to criticize my takes, but you can't criticize my dedication. So this is the board we have today. We are talking about the first 8 matches. The first 6 are on this board, and then I have a second one. So starting with the start of the tournament, Gen.G versus Sentinels. So this was a rematch of the Masters of Madrid Grand Finals, where Sentinels did end up taking that one. Despite Sentinels definitely having the edge in the last map, that was a very close series, and Gen.G definitely looking for revenge in this one. And they would end up getting it in a decisive 2-0 victory. Sentinels really not finding much against Gen.G here. I think right now Gen.G are the best team at the tournament. They have looked insane so far. And while I thought that Sentinels would come into this match very motivated and probably have something new up their sleeve, it didn't seem like Sentinels really showcased enough to make me very confident in their chances this tournament. Gen.G is definitely a very tough start, and they can recover later on, but it does not look good for Sentinels so far, and this was not how they wanted to start. Texture, Meteor, and the rest of Gen.G just outplaying Sentinels at most times during this match. Starting with map number 1, we do have Haven, which ended up being a 13-8 win in favor of Gen.G. It was a pretty close first half with Gen.G taking the first 2 rounds, but Sentinels would get to a 5-3 lead, but then Gen.G ending the half strong, ending at 7-5, winning 4 rounds in a row. Then Gen.G just had an immaculate attack side, only allowing Sentinels to get 3 rounds, and they would end the map. Then Sentinels would not be able to find the counter that they needed on Ascent, Gen.G being pretty good on this map. 13-7 win in favor of them there. Gen.G immediately having a solid first half, ending at 8-4. Sentinels would get that pistol, but it didn't matter much because Gen.G would get the 5 that they needed. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of Gen.G, we have Texture, who went 38, 23, and 8 for plus 15. I think he had like 4 4Ks in the first map. It was insane. Then on the side of Sentinels, Saucy had a pretty decent game, going 34, 27, 17, 4 plus 7. So for Gen.G, great way to start the tournament. You get revenge on the Masters Madrid rematch. And this is their home crowd. They are a Korean team, so they are the favorites to win this tournament by the crowd. So them definitely feeding off the crowd a bit, not playing the villains this time like they were in Shanghai. And this was a fantastic way for them to starting off, pleasing the fans and getting the revenge they've probably waited for a very long time. And for Sentinels, definitely concerned about their chances at this tournament. Right now, they didn't look awful against Gen.G, but they're just doing some things that I just don't see as very promising. Losing advantages they shouldn't. They're trying out the deadlock comp, and for them it's just not working. I know it is for others, but John QT's deadlock I just don't think is it. It didn't work on Ascent for them, so I don't think it's that counterpunch that they have wanted it to be. They can recover. It's still early in this tournament. They do play FPX next, but it isn't going to be an easy road for them if they're going to make an impact. Then moving on to the other match of Group B, and that is Team Heretics versus FPX. This was a 2-1 victory in favor of Team Heretics. FPX not making it easy for them though. They did end up taking a map after a very close map 1, but Heretics would find the edge that they needed on that third map. FPX are definitely a dark horse for this tournament. They really looked good against Heretics. They just don't look like they have the overall skill to overcome the other best teams in the world, and Heretics are looking to finally get that trophy after it was ripped away by Gen.G. Looking at map 1, we do have Abyss, which ended up being a 14-12 win in favor of Heretics. So this one heading into overtime, FPX definitely playing a pretty solid game here. Team Heretics would have a 4-1 lead, but FPX would end the first half winning 7 in a row, but then Heretics would take the momentum right back during their attack half, and FPX were able to tie the game to bring it into overtime. Unfortunate for FPX, they couldn't find anything on overtime, and Team Heretics won the only 2 rounds. However, FPX, building off of their strong performance in map 1, would take map 2 13-9. Pretty back and forth start to the game, but it did end up being a 8-4 half in favor of FPX, and then they win the pistol as well. Team Heretics would build a little bit of momentum, winning 5 rounds in a row, but FPX ended it with 3 round wins in a row. And then map 3, we go back to overtime, this one being a bit more competitive than the last overtime, 15-13. So FPX would get a round in overtime this time. They just couldn't close it out. Team Heretics are a very good team in overtime this year. 6-6 at the half, so this one being right on the edge of either team being able to win for most of it. But then heading into that overtime, well, FPX would get one to prevent the immediate Team Heretics win. Heretics would get the 2 that they needed right after that. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of Heretics, Ryan's basically saved saved this team from disaster, going 71, 44, and 19 for plus 27. Maybe his best performance on the international stage so far. There might be a better game that he's had, I'm not sure, but Ryan's definitely a very strong performer in this match. Everybody else on Team Heretics ended up going negative, and then he went plus 27. On the side of FPX, we have a Yun who went 65, 52, and 11 for plus 13. Strong performance from him. So for Heretics, you avoid the upset victory from FPX, a team that definitely looks dangerous right now. Honestly, with how they played against Heretics, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they end up beating Sentinels. That might be a crazy thing to think, but it's happened in the past before with Chinese teams being able to upset these Americas teams. So we'll see if that ends up being the case and Sentinels get BiliBili, but by FPX. So we'll see if that happens, but FPX really looking like a good team right now, and Heretics, business as usual for them. So moving on to the second day of matches, we have DRX versus Crew. This one did end up being a 2-1 victory in favor of DRX. Honestly, disappointed in Crew's performance on this one. They had an amazing start to this one. Map 1 was a landslide for Crew, but then they busted out this weird comp with Kesnet on the Omen on Abyss, and then Map 3 was just as limp as Map 2 was. Crew yet again struggling with consistency this year. This was a match that Crew absolutely could have and probably should have won. DRX really stealing this one, to be honest. And that is evident by the scoreline we have in Map 1, which was a 13-2 win in favor of Crew. They just ran away with this one with both Kesnet, Melsner, and Shy just frying all of DRX. But then we see this weird Abyss comp with Kesnet on the Omen, and he performed decent, but I don't think they got the value that it could have if he was playing, say, Jet. DRX having a strong defense side, making it 8-4 at the half, and Crew only able to get 2 on their defense. And then we see essentially the exact same story on Bind, a 13-6 win in favor of DRX yet again. This one even a little bit worse on the side of Crew, because 9-3 at the half, and Crew would get 3 on their defense side, but it doesn't matter. As soon as you have that lead, 9-3, it's not really cursed anymore. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of DRX, we have Flashback, who went 51, 34, and 9, recovering from a very bad first map, plus 17. And on the side of Crew, honestly, no one deserves to be the MVP, but Kesnet did have a decent game, 48, 40, and 16 for plus 8. Honestly, just disappointed in Crew on this one. They absolutely should have won this game. It should have been in the bag for them, and they had the advantage, especially on the mental side of things, but it seems like DRX just didn't break. They did bend, but they didn't break. Crew, yet again, just showing problems with consistency, and if they go out like they did in Champs 2023, then it will just feel like yet another wasted strong run at the end of the America season, like it did last year. Moving on, we have the game between FNATIC and BiliBili Gaming. FNATIC making their return to the international stage after a rough performance at VCT Masters Shanghai, and BiliBili making their return to Champions after making it last year and getting a famous upset victory against Gen.G. Unfortunately for them, they were not able to do the same to FNATIC as they did to Gen.G and did lose 2-0. Starting on map 1, we have Bind, which was a 13-9 win in favor of FNATIC. FNATIC having the early lead here, but BiliBili doing a good job of keeping it close, 7-5 at the half, but only 4 round wins on the side of BiliBili during that second half would mean FNATIC would have a solid attack side. Then on map 2 on Lotus, FNATIC would establish their dominance on that map as they have done in the past, 13-4 win for them. 10-2 at the half, not much going for BiliBili. They would get 2 rounds in the second half, but doesn't matter much. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of FNATIC, we have Chronicle, who went 35, 23, and 10 for plus 12. And on the side of BiliBili, we have YZ, who went 35, 31, and 5 for plus 4. So not a terrible performance by BiliBili. This wasn't an America's team, so, it was destined for them to lose. But FNATIC definitely playing well, looking like the team that we expect them to be, and this is obviously a match that they should win. We'll see where both of these teams end up going in this tournament, but FNATIC do look prime for a pretty deep run. Moving on, we have Leviatan versus Talon. Leviatan would take this one 2-0, with Primi of Talon making his international debut and doing a pretty good job. Talon, at least in this match, is a team that, to me, has a lot of really solid aimers, a lot of players that can shoot really well, but when it comes to the overall team play and game sense, they definitely have a bit to work on. But they kept this one pretty close against Leviatan. It wasn't a 2-0 landslide. They were 2 pretty close maps, but Leviatan having the edge of not only having some top tier talent, also having a lot of experience at the international stage this year, and looking pretty in sync as a team up until this point. Looking at map 1, we have Bind, which was a 13-11 win in favor of Leviatan. 7-5 at the half, pretty close. Talon definitely making this one close, getting to 11 rounds, having a lead, but then 4 round wins in a row for Leviatan would seal the deal for them. Then Ascent wouldn't be as close, but Talon still putting up a decent fight, 13-8 in favor of Leviatan. 8-4 at the half, Leviatan having a very strong defense side, but Talon couldn't do much on their defense side aside from 4-round wins in a row. Primi doing very well on the stage, getting 22 kills, 13 deaths, and 5 assists for +9 on this map, being the top fragger in the entire server during this map. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of Leviatan, we have Kane, who went 41, 24, and 15 for +17. And on the side of Talon, talking about Primi yet again, he went 40, 27, and 15 for +13. Primi, this was a very good debut on the international stage for him. We've only seen him in Pacific so far. Seeing him at this tournament would basically determine how much promise this kid at least would be perceived to have. And it definitely looks like while he has some things in his game that he needs to figure out, if this guy can figure out his overall game sense and just pro play and just learning how pro play works versus ranked, this kid has a bright future. He's very talented, incredibly so as we see from his scoreline, but definitely has some of those kinks to work out, which he will, and I'm pretty confident he will. But for Leviatan, very solid start to their tournament. Talon was a team that definitely had the talent to potentially upset them, but not enough in terms of a team to be seen as better than Leviatan. But they made it close, and Leviatan were able to weather the storm and get things going when they needed to. Moving on, we have the last match of this board, and that is Trace Esports versus Vitality. Vitality coming in as the second seed in the EMEA region, doing a very good job in the stage 2 of the EMEA regular season. Looking like one of the better teams in EMEA, making their debut on the international stage, did not go as planned. Trace Esports out of China were able to upset the EMEA favorites, most people expecting Vitality to probably win, including myself. But that was not the case. Trace Esports definitely looking a lot better than Vitality during this game. Team Vitality definitely not looking as good as they wanted to in this match, not looking like the team that went to grand finals in the EMEA. Looking at map 1, we have Ascent, which was a 15-13 win in favor of Trace. So going all the way to overtime, but Trace Esports able to get the 3-round wins in overtime to get it done. Safe doing a decent job, but not doing enough for his team, only getting 16 kills on this map. But Vitality would come back on the Sunset, 13-7 win in favor of them, 8-4 at the half in favor of Vitality, only letting Trace get 3-round wins on their second half. Then on Bind, Vitality couldn't get enough going. This was a 13-7 win in favor of Trace. Very even first half, ending at 6-6, but after Vitality won the pistol, it was all Trace Esports, winning 7 rounds in a row to close this one out. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of Trace, we have Luo Kane, who went 64, 44, and 19 for +20. And on the side of Vitality, Trex had a pretty decent game, going 61, 39, 22 for +22. So unfortunate loss for Vitality, losing to this Chinese team that people didn't really expect much from, but honestly, we didn't fully know where the expectation should be at for this team. We haven't seen them at the international stage so far, so this was definitely a new thing for this team to be here. So we'll see if they can build off of this win, and maybe they can have a decent run and show that China isn't just run by FPX and EDG. And for Vitality, rough going to the lower bracket. We'll see what the future holds for them, but if Safe goes on yet another 0-2 champions, then yeah, I don't know if he's going to get any tier 1 offers next year if all of his teams that go to champions just lose both matches. I'm just kidding. Safe is a very good player, but it is unfortunate. So moving on to slide 2, we have G2 versus Paper X. This was a 2-0 win in favor of G2, this being a rematch from VCT Masters Shanghai earlier in the year. And it did went similarly to how that match in Shanghai went, aside from the fact that Paper X didn't win a map this time. G2 just looking like how they have over the past month or so, a team that has some very solid team play, they're very good not overextending, and Paper X being a team that usually thrives off of overextending and getting that W gaming style, but it's not going to work against a team like G2. Paper X just not getting what they needed from their star players during this match, and G2 is a team that just counters them very well. Looking at map 1, we have Icebox, which was a 13-8 win in favor of G2. This was Paper X's pick, and it could have worked out for them. G2 have been pretty up and down on this map during the year, but when G2 are up on this map, they're looking pretty solid, and they did make this one 8-4 at the half. Paper X in 4-round wins on their attack side, but it didn't really mean much because G2 were able to close it out. Then on Lotus, G2 would show yet again how dangerous their defense side is on this map. 9-round wins on their defense side, 9-3 at the half. Not a curse anymore. Paper X were able to have a decent defense side for themselves, but not enough. This one would go in favor of G2, and the match would end. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of G2, we have Leaf, who went 37, 27, and 10 for +10. And for Paper X, we have Mindfreak, who went 34, 32, and 17 for +2. So yet another unfortunate start to an international tournament for Paper X this year. 2024 really just doesn't seem like like their year right now, and G2 are a team that definitely plays a lot tighter and a style that absolutely, as I've already said, counters PaperX very good. G2 looking really strong. They're looking to build upon their very good performance at Shanghai with a top 3 finish. Definitely going to be a long road for G2. If they're able to make playoffs, they have to play pretty well, but if they're going to continue to play like this, then it should be fine. PaperX bumped down to the lower bracket. We'll see how they do against Foot, but I don't know if I see PaperX going far in this one. Moving on to our last match of the week, we have Edward Gaming versus Foot. This was a 2-0 win in favor of EDG, winning their first international match since VCT Masters Madrid. Yes, it has been that long for this team. This was a solid bounce back match for EDG, having a really poor performance on home turf at VCT Masters Shanghai. Foot trying to build upon what was a pretty good tournament for them at Shanghai, but not able to get it done. EDG really hungry to get a win. Looking at map 1, we have Lotus, which was Foot's pick, but it was a 13-9 win in favor of Edward Gaming. 8-4 at the half. Foot would get 5 on their attack side, but EDG got the 5 that they needed to take this home. Then on map 2, Foot would improve by 1 round win, but that's not enough to take this one. 13-10 in favor of EDG. Yet again, 8-4 at the half. Foot, finding themselves in a very familiar position, would get 4 round wins in a row, but it wouldn't matter too much because they couldn't hold back Edward Gaming for very much longer. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of EDG, we have Smoggy, who went 46, 25, and 13 for plus 21, and on the side of Foot, we have Yeta, who went 36, 32, and 12 for plus 4. Unfortunate start to the tournament for Foot. This is definitely a team that wants more success at internationals than they've had to this point. As I said, they had a decent run at Shanghai. They're looking to build upon that. They're going to be against PaperX next, which in terms of how both teams were playing, I don't really know who wins that one, but both teams are going to have to bring their A game because that is an elimination match. I don't have the next matches on the board, so I do apologize for it, but it is Gen.G versus Team Heretics, so the Shanghai rematch. That will be on Tuesday at 1 in the morning for me, so that's fun. And then we have FNATIC versus DRX right after that. So we'll see how the rest of the tournament goes, but these are the opening matches, the opening week, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoyed my commentary. Please click like if you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.